I miss you. I got that song stuck in my head from that one anime show. Thank you everyone for joining us on OreAni Winter 2021 lineup. I hope everyone's having a great New Year's. I haven't seen everyone since the beginning of the month, so it's nice to see everyone back here again. We got with us today Albert.
Oh.
We have Vinny, which is back from the beyond.
Thanks for having me.
We have Jessica.
Hello.
And we have Sean.
Hey.
I might as well introduce Nick, because he usually comes in like a phantom.
Once he wakes up.
Yeah. He's got the worst schedule for us. I feel sorry for the guy. But we put him through. We make him watch 100 shows. And stay awake forever just to chat with us about him. But today we figured we're going to start the year off on a title that I've heard is utter trash. And I haven't seen anything about it. Haven't heard anything about it until just yesterday. And it seems like at least Jessica and Vinny have experienced this atrocity. So let's hear what they have to say about it. Is it EX or X arms?
I don't think it matters.
No, it doesn't really.
Because it looks like there's a dash between the E and X in that title there, but...
I call it X-arm, but...
X-arm, but I'm not going to lose any sleep if that's incorrect. Because the show clearly doesn't respect the viewer at all in terms of what it does and how it looks. Is that this was made by someone that has no idea how animation works in even the most rudimentary way. And I have played, PS2 games with better animation character rigs than this thing. It's that bad, and I am not exaggerating, okay? This thing is probably one of the ugliest anime I've ever watched.
Yeah, it looks like a Dreamcast game cutscene or something. It really takes you back.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can compare it to? Like, is it like as bad as like some of the Berserk stuff they showed, or?
It's worse. It is worse. I did not think that anything could look as bad as Berserk, but this is above and beyond worse than that. For example, the opening sequence, it's got that irritating hello hello song, and then each one of the characters is brought up and they're spinning in space. So it's basically like a video game character that you've created and you're rotating it around to look at your handiwork. They're frozen in place. They are not actually moving other than they're rotating on an axis. And at the end of going through maybe 7 or 8 of these character models, they just jam them all together on the screen. They don't even bother to change the models outside of their default pose that you just spent 1 minute and 30 seconds staring at. I really have to say that you need to watch the first probably 5 minutes to wrap your head around this, because as bad as you think it is, it's actually worse.
So is this like all 3D type of animation, or is it 2D, 3D mesh that becomes terrible?
Oh, this is the best part. It's 95% 3D, except for some random characters that are drawn and animated in 2D. And they look so jarring next to the models. It does not fit at all.
It's kind of sad when the 2D models look better than the 3D models. And they're not random characters. One of them's like his brother.
Okay,
right?
but I mean that it's weird that this character is 2D versus this character that he's talking to and trying to interact with is 3D. So that choice
Yeah,
is random to me. I don't know why they would do it like that.
well, I mean, one is obviously cost. It was probably cheaper to animate by 2D by hand, you know, a side character that's only going to appear
Uh,
for I don't know 10 seconds, 20 seconds
Yeah.
versus creating a 3D model that they would need to use. So all the main characters are 3D models, but
mm-hmm.
you know there are additional problems beyond that, right? So when
I,
they
I will say
adapt,
that Beastars does exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
that
but the difference is that you can't tell in Beastars,
oh
really.
I can tell, but yeah, I'm
You
looking
can
for it.
tell? Okay, I did not know that they did that.
Lots of background
yeah,
characters are hand drawn.
and but it actually has a background. Like if you look at scenes from XR, there's like no background. It's like a white wall, and you're like, wait, I thought they were in a warehouse district. No, they're on a ship, right? Okay, and then where does this guy? There's no positional relationship, which is like the strong suit of 3D CG anime because you can tell, you know, even where like the shadows are supposed to drop, but this one makes no sense. Like the
Mm-mm.
spatial orientation makes no sense. Handshakers made no sense, but this is on a whole nother level. The other thing I
Yeah.
learned today about the show is that the director has no anime experience, and he was chosen specifically because he's a live action and therefore would be, you know, good at three-dimensional direction of characters and their movement. And I, I don't see that at all. You know,
No.
the mangaka whose thing this is all based on is, I feel really bad for him.
Oh my
Really
God,
bad for him.
I do too. Can you imagine seeing your work like this to be this dumpster fire? I feel bad for the mangaka and I feel bad for the fans of the manga because this is just it's like someone took a big steaming dump on your lawn. Really, it's so disrespectful. I think to think that people would actually buy what they're trying to sell.
Watching this series keeps remind me of some of the scenes from the of all things Shirobako. One was about how this series, even at the first episode, is falling apart, like the boing boing. There was a heaven.
Oh yeah, Puru Puru Tengoku.
Yes, and the other part was about how to better implement the 3D animations by changing the timings. There was a sequence where those two classmates now working, one is working as a 3D animator and the other was traditional animator, was teaching her about how to pace the timing so that when the little piglet was inside the trapped in the cockpit that was about to face plant into you, you cannot use the same timing. You have to exaggerate it, elongate it up to make it more anime style to it. And as I was watching this XR, I keep thinking, haven't they at least tried to watch some of the series that actually teaches you about animation, even at the fan's perspective? And the other part was about how antiquated it looks.
Yes.
So I'm reminding myself of some of the really old 3D animation that was stuffed into like old PlayStation games. That everything looks kind of slow and low-fi and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But back then that was a groundbreaking kind of uses. But whereas this is,
The characters when they're speaking don't really have expressions, or rather I should say they all have one expression and it rarely if ever changes, and the only part of the face that's animated is the jaw, and it's not animated well, so the rest of the face is static, and then the jaw sort of just stretches up and down. It
Mhm.
just, oh my gosh, it's horrible.
Sounds awesome.
I've only seen
Just-
bits and pieces of this because everyone's seen that like weird trailer from many months ago. When I saw that, I'm like, they're gonna cancel this, right? Or they're gonna put this
Try to
on
fix
hiatus
it.
until they can make it look good. But no, they just put it out, and I downloaded one episode and kind of skimmed around. I'm like, wow, it really is that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like at no point during the process did like Crunchyroll. I think they bankrolled this thing, right?
Yes.
Did they look at a pilot and said this is unpresentable, and we have to not, we have to change something or abort. And then they put out the trailer and everyone trashed it, and the headline was, "Look at how bad this anime is."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And unlike most Crunchyroll originals where they just slap you in the face with advertising for them, I have seen nothing promoting XR at all, which yeah, I don't see how you could try to promote this as, what was it they said? The science fiction show that's declaring war on all science fiction or something? Very grandiose. It's just, do you guys even have a modicum of self-awareness of what you have done?
This is the show you'll show to people if you want them to hate anime from here on.
Or use it in a how not to animate college course too. It's, you can definitely pick it apart and go, this is why this doesn't work in this scene. There's no squash and stretch. There's no feeling of weight. So when the cyborg android lady's running all over the place, she looks weightless.
I think if you throw the economic point of view along with all the breakdown, I think you can turn the graduate thesis or something.
All right, that sounds like a lot of fun for X Arms. You heard it from us. Watch the first episode. Bring your family and friends to torture them, so you're not alone as you go through this moment.
Yeah, if you want to be ostracized by it.
But let's go for another show that's bad in a different way, okay? And this title's gonna be called where is it? Kaifuku Jutsushi no Yari Naoshi. I hope I said that correctly. Also known as Redo of a Hero. And when I say bad, I don't mean bad as in like visually or story yet, because like we're still getting into it, but I mean bad as in you can't even really watch the show because of the censorship on this thing.
Yeah. So there are certain scenes, starting with well, actually, I didn't watch episode 2, which is the one that everyone's talking about. But in episode 2, there are certain scenes where you just cannot even censor it. So instead, they went with a panning shot of a fireplace while events occur. Now, if you get the uncensored ATX version, you will see exactly why, because it is essentially this is the softcore to hardcore comparison of anime to hentai. Okay, so except not showing penetration, there is a graphic torture sex scene that happens in episode 2, and that's just unfortunately the tip of the iceberg in the story. So there will be a scene later on. I think there might be a couple more scenes that are worse than that.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
the story-wise, it's set in a fantasy world, blah blah blah. But this is essentially a total revenge porn anime, and so we find out that the heroes are fighting the demon lord, except in the middle of this battle, the heroes are almost defeated, and the hero leader, I guess, she tells the one someone in the background to come heal them because he's the healer hero. And turns out he was brainwashed and drug addicted so that they would do his bidding. But he reveals that, aha, I'm not actually that. I'm going to defeat the Demon Lord and reset everything, which he does, despite being a healer, because it turns out his healing ability is not really healing, it's transformation. So instead of actually fixing things, he can transform things. So sure, a wound is transformed into normal status, but he, with the Demon Lord's core mana stone, he decides to reset the world. He heals time itself to 4 years ago. And then you follow him as he tries to extract and punish those who had abused him. And it's pretty horrifically bad stuff. All the heroes are just terrible, terrible human beings. The kingdom is horrible, and despite being the protagonist, he himself is a villain, hell bent on revenge at all costs. And there's no modicum of seeking justice or doing things right. He just wants revenge, and that is the entire story, and loosely the story of what's the heroes versus the demon lord, but whatever.
So, as a member of the Truck Hunt fan club, I'm obligated to ask: is this an isekai or is this an MMO?
No.
Oh,
No,
This
it's not.
is a straight up fantasy
it is
anime.
a fantasy.
Can't believe it.
But as I've mentioned in the past, Japanese fantasy is based on video game fantasy, right? So at one point he gets the all-seeing eye ability that lets him see his own stats. He can see his stats and skill points and levels, and everyone else's too.
I
And,
hate
and
it.
it's just it's not good. I mean, it's entertaining in some ways, but it's not by any means something that you should recommend to your friends. It's not something that you should really, God, it's just bad.
You
I
can't.
have a feeling if you watch past episode 2, you get put on some sort of watch list somewhere.
Yeah, potentially.
So
That's what VPNs are for.
yeah, I heard about how this was the controversial anime of the season. Okay, so I'll watch episode 1 and see where it goes. And episode 1, it's like, okay, I don't know why it's so controversial. It's got some stuff that's a little weird, but not, to the extent that people are frothing at the mouth over it. My main gripe is that the story was so poorly written. I
Yeah, it's
actually
pretty bad.
like revenge plots because I think that they can be pretty cool if they're done right, and this was not done right at all. In order for a revenge plot to work, you have to know about why the character's pissed off, who did them wrong, and you need some background and context about the world. And in this case, the guy wakes up, goes out into the forest, gets kissed by a fairy, and he's like, oh, so these are my memories. And it just, I didn't feel invested in any of it because it wasn't really earned at all. And then we got to episode 2, and I'm honestly glad I saw the censored version because I don't think I could have watched what actually happened. Which sort of question though is that why even bother censoring it in the manner that they chose, because they cut the audio so you couldn't hear what was going on. You're staring at a fire that's slowly panning up and down. It just fade to black and cut out that minute or so of the fireplace. That would have been better, I think.
Didn't they have 2 scenes like that though?
Yeah, well, there was when he was breaking her fingers, we were staring at a pot of lilies for a long time. But you could still hear everything that was going on. But then when it came time for this turbo awful, there was no audio, and then there was like a break where he says something, and then it goes back to looking at the fireplace with no dialogue, no nothing. So it was just really poorly done, in my opinion. Because like, if the people that want to watch this want to see this stuff, then why even censor it to that point? You know, it just. Mm.
You know, the
I
weird
don't
thing
know,
is,
but if go ahead.
the weird thing is that I've never actually heard of this, because the show that I keep hearing about as like, if you watch this, you're bad and you should feel bad, is called Mushoku Tensei, which is an
What?
isekai. It's like straight up dude gets run over by a bus and goes to the fantasy world.
So,
I think that's a rather
We'll talk
reductive
about it later, but that's not.
because
yeah.
you can like things that are quote unquote problematic. It doesn't mean that you endorse what's happening in there. I mean, not necessarily anyway.
We'll talk about that other show here next, but this actually kind of reminded me of another show, which was called Okusama ga Seto Kaicho, or My Wife is the Student Council President, because that one was a short that was also pretty ecchi, and in some scenes, rather than showing what was actually happening, they cut to another thing which had nothing to do with what actually was happening on camera, and then all of a sudden would abruptly go back to what was just happening. That was like, wait, what did we just miss? What was going on?
And I personally hate that, because if you're watching a show that's about etchiness, it seems really stupid to censor it, because the people that want to watch the etchiness suddenly have no reason to watch the show. So, like, why can't they just content gate it the way Netflix does, or have the rating or something? And like I said, I'm kind of glad I watched the censored version, because I'd probably been scarred for life if I hadn't. But at the same time, it just doesn't make any sense artistically to do it that way.
It doesn't really make any sense to have this be an anime.
No,
So let me
yeah.
Yeah, so when I heard that this was getting, an adaptation, and people were up in arms, like how is this possible? I read the manga, and I'm like, I don't understand how this could become an anime. And you know how we're all adults here, so we've seen hentai, right? You know how the full screen would be like this? Well, imagine that scene just being like cut off, where you don't see the penetration part, but you see everything else. That's what was in the fireplace scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, does this mean that there's the actual, there's a full screen version for Blu-ray purchasers? Because it sure looked that way.
And that's what I kind of wonder too. Is this the new marketing tactic where, oh well, we can't. This is too whatever for our platform, but you can buy the on Blu-ray where it's completely uncensored. I mean, is that what it's for?
Too hot for
I
TV.
I don't know. I mean, I don't watch. I don't go back to pull the Blu-ray versions of Ishizoku reviewers to see if that kind of thing happened. So yeah, this is a whole different level. Yes, and like I said, this episode 2 is not the worst scene. So that's still coming.
That's nuts.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Not much else to say about this show. I wonder if they'll take it off like they did Ishizoku reviewers, if it keeps on getting such negative backlash.
Well, I heard that in Germany you can't watch it because the distributor pulled it. They just straight out refused. So no one in Germany can watch it. At least this broadcast version.
So yeah.
So yeah, probably.
So we'll just have to see how far it goes. Like, I haven't actually heard anyone or anything about backlash or a lot of problems. I guess it's because I'm not too on social networks, so I haven't been hearing any of that. All I know is that I have read the manga or partial of it, and I know it goes to the extreme. So I was like baffled when I heard it was becoming an anime. While some of my other coworkers at work were like, "Dude, this is gonna be awesome!" Like, and I'm like, I don't think it's going to be because I know the content and I know what they can get away with. So there's going to be either heavy cutting or editing or
That's what
censorship.
upsets me though, is that this could have been done right. Because I think the idea of a world where healers are looked down upon is sort of interesting. Because in MMOs, we call the healers healer bitches sometimes. And because all they do is heal and whatnot. So I thought, okay, well, maybe that would be an interesting angle to look at this through, and the revenge thing might be okay. But what we got was not what I had hoped it was gonna do. And maybe that was just me being naive, but I thought, hey, it's not an isekai, so I'll check it out.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next title. And we did mention this, and this is an isekai, which is Mashoku Tensei Isekai Itara Honki desu? Or Das? Is this supposed to be Das or is it Das?
I just call it jobless reincarnation.
Well, you be simple like that. I like to make everything hard on myself. So we got this this thing, which I believe also came from a light novel, but I've read the manga rather than the light novel.
Same.
And the manga was really fun and really great. And actually, this has been getting talked a lot about on Twitch amongst a lot of the people that hang out there for the artist groups, and just how visually it's really great looking and everything. And I was surprised when I first saw that first episode. It looked amazing. And I believe I've only... Is there... I think there's 4 episodes right now, right?
Yes.
I haven't seen the...
Okay.
I haven't seen the
I've
4th
I've only
one yet.
watched 3.
Out
Yeah.
today.
I've only watched 3 and as well. And as far as the adaptation from the manga to anime, I would say it's actually not that bad. I mean, I can't remember everything that happened because it's been so long since I've read it. Because it is one of those, I think, manga that gets released quite slowly. But other than that, the anime, it's got me hooked, at least for as far as the isekai going right now. What about you, Albert, and your isekai-ness hating?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is one of those interesting properties. So when discussing things like light novels, you might have heard that, oh, this is a Naro light novel, and what that is that there's a website called Shousetsuka ni Naro. Let's become a novelist. Okay, and so Naro means to become, and there people submit their writings in serialized format for other people to read. And if you're really good, some publisher, like Kodansha or Kadokawa, will pick you up and publish you in print media, and you've essentially become a light novelist. And so this is one of the granddaddies of success. The light novelist, what was his name? He started in 2012, I believe, and it's a pseudonym. Rifujin no Mango no Te means it's too long to explain. Anyway, he wrote this isekai fantasy story, and it's pretty typical as you would expect, but it's pretty well done. And within I think a year or two, it got picked up and was published. And since then, he's published a lot of volumes, and the manga adaptation is quite a ways behind, I believe. But that this is one of the ways to success. So many of the other light novel properties you might have seen as anime started off as a web novel. So this is how publishing some of the publishing works in Japan, where a web novel gets picked up by a publisher, and then you become an actual novelist, and then if based on that success, you might have spin-offs, manga adaptations, and then eventually anime. So this is coming pretty late to the game, but this is actually before many of the other ones you might have seen. And yeah, the studio is called the Studio Bind, and this studio was actually put together by Studio White Fox and Edinburgh together for the explicit purpose of adapting Mushoku Tensei to anime. Okay, so that's how much they were invested in making this anime, and it does show in the quality of animation that they have been able to put together, and the pacing I think is spot on. The character models are nice. The 3D effects that they also use are really well done, and yeah, everything about it is good. And the the other thing I would like to point out is that it's not the OP protagonist, I can do everything type of isekai. He is reincarnated as a baby. He starts from zero after a meeting with Truck-kun, and he was a NEET and a hikikomori in real life. I think he was 34 when he died, and as part of that background is also slowly revealed and the traumas that he suffered. And when he is reborn into this world, he's like, "Oh, I'm in a, I got reborn." And so it takes him a couple of years to actually, go through childhood, learn the language, and start to understand that it's not just like this pseudo-European medieval world. This is a land of sword and magic, and he starts trying to apply himself to magic. And the rule book, the one book that he finds says, "Oh, everyone has a set limit of mana, and you can't overcome that." And he's like, "What? That sucks. That means if I only have a cup full of mana, then that's all I ever get." And he starts to experiment and discovers that no, that's not true. The more you practice, the more mana you have, the more abilities that you can gain. And so it's through actually becoming serious and dedicating himself and not giving up, and through hard work, he starts to master magic as a child. And I think uh, I think that's something that's not usually seen in modern isekai, where you're just dropped into a world and you've got superpowers or a super weapon or a goddess with you, all kinds of stuff like that. So in that sense, it is as the title says, he's becoming serious now that he is in the isekai. So yeah, overall, I think I know where this is originally currently scheduled for 12 episodes. I think it's either 12 or 13, and
So,
I know approximately where it's going to end.
so,
For this, and I think based on the reaction and the praise it's getting, it will probably get a second season. If,
so
and
according to
yeah,
the chart I have, it says it's 11 episodes, but it's going to be a split two-core series.
Oh, nice.
I don't see how they can wrap it up in the second core, but okay. Well, maybe some things will change
Yeah.
because yeah, okay, if it's split, okay, it's possible with
But
the pacing they're going.
going with some of the stuff you said beforehand, like on the other show, is that there's the thing about this one that I found interesting as well is like you said that there's no stat screens or anything like that, like
Mm-hmm.
in the other isekais where you can check and see levels or know how much MP and all that stuff or people's names right now. And also,
Mm.
um, one thing I think that this show has failed to do, though, which I think they put a lot of emphasis in the manga, which I think probably why some people should read the manga along with this a little bit to get some of this information, is that um, like my friends, when I was watching it with them, they didn't understand why he was so scared when they went outside and stuff, but it's because he was a NEET, right? Or
Well,
hikikomori
yeah,
or
I mean,
something like
there's
that, right?
that, but
So I think that
you will, it comes in smaller segments, right? So you see part of the background in like episode 2, that he was severely bullied at school,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that, I mean, yeah, with that kind of trauma, you might not want to go out. And the reaction that he has as Rudius, when he goes outside and sees other kids, he's afraid of them because he's afraid that they'll just, bully him. And so that's all there, but it is even pieced out even in the manga. So I think you'll eventually get more of it.
And about the overpoweredness, there's a scene where he finds another character who's also really good at magic, and he says to himself, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice if I'm the only one that knows how to do nonverbal spells?" And then she does a nonverbal spell, and it's just, no, you're not special, you're not unique, and that was just a breath of fresh air. Because normally I'm like Albert, I'm very tired of these isekai ubermensches that we keep getting. Um, but it's a very sedately paced series, and I like that because it's giving us time to wrap our heads around the world and the other characters, the family dynamics and stuff before we go off to Hogwarts. So
Hmm.
I'm definitely all for that. It's basically this does everything right in terms of isekai tropes and things.
Yeah, and even more tropes will be thrown at you in the future as you watch this, but
Mm.
it's all done well. Um, I won't say too much more, but yeah, I think if you like isekai, this is definitely one you should watch. If you don't like isekai, you don't care for any fantasy, then obviously this isn't the show for you. But don't rule it out just because it's a isekai. It's a little bit different than the others.
all right,
So
yeah, I say give it a chance if you like isekai because it's decent, good. But let's get all these like magical
isekai.
fantasy things out of here and go for something a little more heartwarming. We got Non Non Bjordi coming back, right? Is this the third season or
It's the third season.
yeah? So why don't you tell us about this
I mean,
this heartwarming show? I
if
guess
you've
right.
if you've yeah, if you've watched any of the previous seasons, then yeah, it's just more of the same. But it's just relaxing. It's a ESK, and it's also a slice of life, and it's about the adventures or misadventures of four girls in the countryside in Japan. And it's not set in any specific area. It's beautifully animated. It's got the four seasons. The girls are quirky. They all go to a school where everyone in elementary to middle school is in the same classroom, and there's only five of them, including the boy Ni-chan, who's the older brother of two of the characters, two of the girls. who does not have a speaking role, which is hilarious too. But it's just about them, doing things that you would you would just find dumb in other shows, but here it's just heartwarming. Okay. So actually, let me share my screen. I think where's my screen? Screen two. Okay, so one of the girls is Renge. She lives with her sister, and her sister is the teacher actually of the school. And as a teacher, her sister does not do a whole lot.
She sleeps a lot.
She does. And then the opening song is by NaNoWriMo again. They've done all three seasons and the movie. So there's a movie that takes place. And they just do dumb things like make little dolls out of toothpicks and Scotch tape. And it's dumb. It's dumb, but it's also really heartwarming. And this is not quite as country as my grandfather's place in Japan was, but it gives you that feeling of going back into the country's side where your grandparents or your great grandparents, where they came from, and visiting them. And it's these events that happen around the seasons for these girls. So it's quirky. It's not for everyone. I understand. You might get really bored, but I just really enjoy watching sceneries of the country, of a little stream flowing for 10-15 seconds. You're just watching a stream flow animated and hearing the sound of that stream, and that's fine. That's what I watch it for. So if you like that kind of slow Yeshike anime, then I would recommend it.
So the only thing I have questions about it and wonder is that like, is there any showing of passage of time? Like, are they moving up grades? Are they, or is it just always going to be like you never know what time or what how old they
Yeah,
are or
so
anything like that?
I think it's just looped. It's always around this one year when Hotaru arrives. She's the fifth grader that looks more like a high schooler. When she arrives, and within the year or two that happens. So it was pretty clear from the get-go that in season 2 that was a loop of the same time, but you're just looking at different days. Right? You only have 12 episodes to explore that year, so you could insert other stories in between as the girls get to know each other and play and all that. So um, this starts in summer. This season starts in summer, whereas the previous seasons, I believe, started earlier.
Started
So
spring.
yeah. So in that sense, the girls already know each other. There's no need to reestablish that there's a new student and they need to become friends and all that. But there are new characters that show up. One of them being from one of the other characters who's not one of the main four girls. Her kohai at school and the wind ensemble comes out to visit and practice, and Renge and the other girls slowly get introduced to her. So yeah, watch it if you like that kind of show.
Nice. It's a nice heartwarming show. Um, I wish I could follow it, but I think after watching the first season, um, I felt it was just going to be just repeated stuff over and over again. Is it that way, or is it always something new?
I think I think season 2 ended up being pretty similar. And that was why people liked it. The movie is a little bit different because they get to go to Okinawa, and it's a very different feel. This season, I don't know. I mean, there's some new characters that are showing up, so it might change up things a bit. But in essence, it's a slice of life, and it's slow moving, and it's cute girls doing cute things in the country. So, if you want to, I would suggest watching the movie.
All right. Did you have anything to add, Vinny, or?
Just a little, pretty much more or less what Albert said. Each one of those series is that if you watch the first season and liked it a lot, then you're probably gonna watch the second and third season. As he said, the second season felt like a fill in between the like a nook and cranny that was missed out from the first season, whereas the third season seemed to be sort of moving on to the little forward into the timeline, but not so much to the point where the class they all have to go up by class, which kind of creates an issues of those one of the brother, the silent partner in this, has to be actually thrown out of the combined elementary and the middle school because I believe he's a ninth grader in that show, which means he will have to actually go to high school. They were to move up in class, so timeline is pretty much stuck in the same school year. And as for the third season so far, it's other than the new character that's been brought in by the one of the side character that's too old to be in the school, who goes to the high school in the I guess neighboring part of the town. Um, Otherwise, it's basically mostly just discovering a little bit more about each character so far. And there's always the run of the joke about how Renge is doing wacky things that nobody seems to understand, but somehow she just makes it work. And Hotaru is always that running joke being that she's the most mature fifth grader ever, both physically and mentally. Then, but she also has that immature side that she kind of likes to be spoiled by their parents, and that there's a episode where she kind of got caught red-handed that she was acting very spoiled fifth grader. So it's so I'm guessing that the rest of the series is going to be basically more about discovering more things about each characters. But that's pretty much it. I like it because I just kind of puts it into like a nostalgia bomb, kind of like a good old days in a modern day optic, but somehow it works for me.
It reminds you of outside when you can go outside, right?
Yep.
Well, okay, that was a No Num Biori. For next
Non-stop.
time, I'm going to have to find my. Didn't they have an app? There, you can just push it and it goes Nyampasu, Nyampasu. Just one button.
No, that still exists. That's a website.
Oh,
The
a
Nyampasu
website.
button site.
Oh, I
Yeah, so
forgot.
just type in Nyampasu button and it'll show up.
All right, we're gonna have to.
It keeps count of how many Nyampasus.
We're gonna have to find that for next time before the end of the season. Let's go ahead and change our topic. Let's go to a different thing, which I have no idea what to make of it. I've only seen one episode, and it seems very interesting. Interesting enough that I want to spend some time on it. So that's why I haven't watched too much of it because I've been a little bit busy. Which is Wonder Egg Priority, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw the first episode and I was like, what did I just watch? I gotta watch this again because I wasn't really paying attention to it. But I feel I lost a lot of things, or maybe I just am really confused about what's going on.
Well, I mean, that's part of what I like about the show is that they don't have this gigantic info dump at the beginning of the show that tells you everything. And people are like, I don't understand this show, or it's pretty, but what's going on? Well, just why don't you just even give it the uh, 3 episode try instead of just complaining about it. So
especially because we're just as lost as the main character. and
Yeah,
she doesn't know what's going on, so why should we know?
I really, really enjoying the show so far, and I think that it is something different than what's been done before. So Wonder Egg Priority, you know, is a anime original story. It is done by Studio Cloverworks, you know, and so the visuals are obviously going to be very pretty. Now, in terms of what the story is about, you have the main character, Oto-san, what is her name? Ai-chan, right? Um, and she is a hikikomori, and she is in what grade is she in? She's in middle school, and it's slowly revealed that her she had a friend, and her friend died, and due to some of the trauma surrounding that event, I is refusing to go to school. She apparently lives with her mother, who is a single mother, and the teacher comes to visit her to try to, coax her back to school. But I one day has a dream, and in that dream, she obtains an egg, and when she wakes up, she actually has the egg. And so it's this really weird in between of reality and dreamscape. And apparently, she can make a wish come true if she saves enough of those eggs. And what happens in the story is that in the dreamscape, when she breaks open the egg, someone emerges from it, and she has to protect her from um, these weird creatures and a boss monster that would eventually arrive. And by doing so, she is trying to reclaim, to make her friend live again, or at least that's what it seems like. But there's a fine blurring of lines between reality and dream, and you can't really tell what's what sometimes. I think that's part of the confusion that people are having, and it's a heavy. It, there's a lot of stories about bullying right now, and this falls into that. There's some bullying issues. There's a lot of heavy psychodrama that's happening, and it's a fantastical world, but it's also kind of dark and all that. So what I really appreciate about this show is the writing is done by a non-anime writer. So the screenwriter is someone who's known for doing live action drama scripts, and this is his first anime. So, from what I understand, th- people are kind of split in Japan. People are split because if they like the writer's work in live action, they're like, oh, I'm really excited for this writer to have his turn in an anime and be free of the constraints of 3D live action. Whereas some people I know have also said, "Oh, I don't care for that writer's style, and I don't want to watch this anime because of that." So um, I haven't watched Japanese drama in a long, long time, so I don't know any of the um, samples that were listed as his prominent work. But so far, I've watched 3 episodes of Wonder Egg Priority, and I think it is a dark horse anime of the season currently, and also really intriguing personally to me. So I highly recommend it.
I have
Yeah,
to say that is you got to watch this show. It's absolutely gorgeous. The animation reminds me a lot of KyoAni, and I know it's not a KyoAni production, but that's kind of the same feeling that I get, where lots of little details are put into the backgrounds and the characters to make them seem just that much more realistic. And I guess even in a fantastical situation, you need that to feel a little bit grounded. And I think that this is probably my favorite show of the season. It's outstanding in every conceivable way. Albert's right. You need to watch it.
It reminds me of KyoAni whenever they like pull out their weapons in the dream world. It starts looking
Yeah.
like a Chunibyo demo Koigashita. I
That too, and there's obviously some Madoka Magica kind of influence, I guess, that you might be able to pick up on too.
yeah, I suppose so. I guess the boss battles, so to speak, kind of remind me of Persona.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that too.
yeah.
I agree.
I don't know if I like this show, but I'm definitely gonna watch all of it because it is a really intriguing product. You know, it's like good and bad in that way that I find interesting to parse. So I feel like the show is at its best when it's not in the dream world. Like episode 3 is my favorite episode so far because most of it doesn't take place in the dream world and they establish this like really interesting, like very flawed character.
Mm.
And just seeing all the interactions, you know, between the main character and this new character, you know, it's like really well animated, you know, lots of detail, like you're. But then once they fall asleep and they enter the dream world, then as usual, things get a little too abbreviated, a little too convenient. They're introducing these throwaway characters and they have to fight this throwaway boss. Like, I just don't find any of that stuff affecting. And then I don't really know what argument this show is building. Because it reminds me of Yurikuma Arashi in the way that, like, there are a lot of systematic bullying metaphors in it, and there's a lot of symbolism. But Yurikuma Arashi from the start, like, you could tell that it was forming this argument about, like, you know, it's breaking the patterns of Japanese society down into, like, metaphors, and you can think of, so that you can think about all of it in the abstract and how it forms this, like, unjust system. Like, Yurikuma Arashi uses abstraction in, like, a useful way in that sense. But I don't know what this show is getting at, because it has systematic bullying, but it seems to have other stuff too. And in the latest episode, it's about idols and fanatics.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, like, the most loose overarching idea is like people in positions of power abusing power, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is
Yeah,
all adding up into something that will make any sense.
it may be overly ambitious in that sense because so far it seems that based on Ai's trauma and the other girl in episode 3, what was her name? Rika. Rika's trauma, right? That it's all about. I mean, it is about trauma, but it's about the societal pressures that seem to be dark and that the author might be trying to get at. So, like, bullying, trying to conform and be a good student and all that is all, you know, uh, is admirable. But once you are forced to conform, and if you don't seem to be stepping in line, then you bully that person. That's the dark side, right? And same with the idol culture, which is, oh, it's nice to be, this cute, the idol and become everyone's darling, but to continue that and become a bigger idol, you need people to follow you, to put money towards you, buy your CDs, buy your products, and that can create some really ugly moments when people end up spending their life savings or end up stealing to essentially support that habit. And so I think these are the types of things that the author might be trying to get at, and those are the traumas that are taken up. We actually don't know what the dark-skinned girl Nehru's story is yet, because we've only interacted on a different level, but it's hinted that you know, one of her, I think her sister died, and she feels responsible. So there's that, and we know that there is a fourth character that has not yet been introduced. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but I think it's worth watching.
I guess there's somewhat of a theme of like you can't fill the void with materialism because there's the idol stuff in episode 3, but then there's also the whole premise of the show, which is they go to this vending machine and they get these wonder eggs, and like this mysterious dark voice tells the main character, if you buy enough of these wonder eggs, you can bring your dead friend back. And then you see other characters going up to the vending machine, like buying way more wonder eggs.
I kind of thought that the Wonder Egg was a similar metaphor to Utana's egg metaphor, where they talk about how Utana or the characters are the chick and the egg is the world, and so you have to crack the shell on the world. But here I kind of think that the eggs are maybe a way of self-actualization or healing, moving past a traumatic point in your life and getting assistance with that. But I've only seen the first 2 episodes, so who knows? I could be way off base. It's just, I guess, like we don't really know what the heck is going on, so it's hard to draw any real conclusions from what the series as a whole is trying to say.
I think most of us will continue watching it, and by the end of the season, we'll have a discussion about whether it succeeded or not. And
yeah,
I'm just I'm just hoping I'm just hoping it's not the teacher. Okay?
It's not the what?
That's all I'm gonna say. It's not the teacher because
oh
I
gosh,
remember when we watched Erased, it's like it's the teacher.
yeah,
The teacher's the killer. You know that. Here I'm just hoping it's not that. It would be so
that would be awful.
I mean, yeah, it would be, but I'm pretty sure that the teacher is up to no good.
Oh no.
So, I was looking up the writer on my anime list, and it looks like he's written for some published manga, and one of them's called Oni-chan Gacha. And it's a story about an elementary school girl who finds an older brother in a gachapon machine.
Okay, I mean that could happen in Wonder Egg.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the egg is a gacha machine, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. So. Yeah, it's a Kinder egg.
Yeah, and
all this will come out, but watch it. I would watch it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's on. Is it only on Funimation, which also means it's on VRV, or is Funimation on
so.
VRV?
No, Funimation's not on Verve yet.
Funimation.
Yeah, so I know it's on Funimation at least. So, since no one's typed in what they want to talk about next, I just picked a random title. Since we're talking about girls and stuff, and I have no idea what this is about as well. We got The Other Side Picnic, or what is it? Sekai Picnic?
Yeah. I just lost. Great, I just lost my mouse. Hold on. Switch. Anyway, Urasekai Picnic is kind of interesting to me because with this, again, one of those properties based on a light novel. Sorry if you're hearing some banging. But it's classified as a Yuri mystery adventure show, I think. But if you're not really watching, everything that the one that Sorao does, Sorao is typically more of a male name, and that character Sorao also refers to herself in Boku, which is a male term, and nothing about her is girlish. So it's a little strange. And so far, I mean, yeah, so the basic premise of the story is that Sorao finds himself in a is able to transport through a different means, but into a different world that he essentially says is the Urasekai, or the the mirror world, I guess. Um, it's kind of like when Alice goes through the mirror and finds a different, similar but different world. And in this world, the urban legends and mythologies appear to take shape and are real. And there Sorao, she meets the other girl whose name is escaping me right now. Sorry, Toriko. Yeah.
Oh,
Um, who is looking for another person that is very, very important to her, or so she says. So the two team up to survive incident, and because of that, Toriko is her hand is affected, and Sorao has one of her eyes change, um, and it's about them continuing to go to the other side, and Toriko seems to be the main driver in this relationship, as she wants to really find I think it's Satsuki, the person that she's looking for, and because there's strength in numbers, she drags Sorao into her adventures. So this is based on a series of light novels, and I think there are 5 volumes, 5 or 6 volumes out. Um, and it is done by Linden Films, which is a slightly newer um, studio. They've been around for a bit, but mostly doing like collaborations. They have a whole slew of things that they are planning on doing, and um, I don't know. The other thing that they're doing this season is Last Dungeon. They're also working on, what else were they working on? So they're working on Cells at Work Black, or Cells at Work Code Black. So um, yeah, so they've been in existence and doing anime since 2013. But it's I think it's intriguing. Not a lot is still explained. It seems to be following the formula of they go to the other world, something happens, they have to fight the monster of the week, they come back. Um, and episode 4 just kind of shook that up a bit. They're still stuck in the other world. I don't know how this is going to turn out, especially if the novel series is not completed. I don't know if there are going to be a satisfying conclusion, but for now, I'm watching it because I do enjoy it, and also Sorao is voiced by Yumiri Hanamori, who is also the voice of in the other Lightning Films property. He, uh, she is voicing what's his name from Last Dungeon, the main character. Great, I can't remember. Royd, Lloyd, Lloyd in Last Dungeon, and she is most famous probably for voicing Nadeshiko in Eurocamp. So, anyway, if you're into a little bit more of a mystery type show, and people that are not in high school, which is always a plus for me, you might want to check this out. So far, the Yuri elements are not really a strong part of the story. Uh, they might be developing some of that, but right now I don't really see it. So it's more of a mystery adventure type show. Anybody else watching it?
Yeah, I am.
I watched
It's
the first episode.
the first episode I didn't think was all that great. Is it felt
Mm-hmm.
a little disjointed and inconsistent to me. And so I was just a little disappointed because on paper I really liked this premise. But the second episode was much better. And so I decided to continue on with it. I'm curious about the novels, but mainly I guess my issue with it is the problem of tone. Is that we're told that
Mm-hmm.
the other side is incredibly dangerous and you can die just by stepping on a glitch. And then they'll be chased by these creatures that we're again told are very dangerous, but they'll make it comic. And so I'm not really sure, am I supposed to be laughing? Am I supposed to be worried? What exactly is all of this? So I want to read the light novels now, but I kind of hope that the tone settles into something a little more, um, I guess, I forget the word, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I don't know. I don't think it's bad, but maybe check it out if the premise is interesting to you. And mysteries definitely would probably be good. And I have a feeling the Yuri element is going to come in later because you have Zoro, which I'm thinking is sky, and then Toriko, which is bird. So they're kind of birds fly in the sky. I'm thinking that they'll hook up by the end of the show.
Mm-hmm. Or at least the beginnings of it. Yeah, I don't know, but it's compared to a lot of others that are airing this season, I find this more intriguing than a lot of other second core or second season series.
Oh yeah, it's great for having college age protagonists. That alone is great.
Nice. Um, I believe this is also Funimation, right? Streaming on
Yeah.
Funimation.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to give it a try. You guys made it sound a little interesting. Clicky click. Let's go to the next title then. This might be a little scary for Jessica, so close your eyes, Jessica. We got Kumu desu ka nanika?
Yeah, so this is another isekai, okay, and it is based on again. This was originally a web novel at the Shousetsuka ni Naro website and was picked up by Kadokawa and became a light novel series. There's also a manga adaptation. So the light novel is 15 volumes. The manga is currently 10 volumes. And I've only read the manga. And there are pretty big differences between the light novel and the manga. So the premise of this story is the main character finds herself being reincarnated in another world as a spider monster specifically. So this falls into a subgenre of isekai where you are reincarnated not as one of the humanoid, so like reincarnated as a slime is a very popular one, and the second season that is airing right now of that series. There is this one, Spider. There is a couple other ones, including one that I think is getting an adaptation soon, where the main character is isekai into a magical sword. Okay, so this falls into that category. So she finds herself in the shell, cracks open, comes out of the shell, and it's a bunch of other spiders. And she's like, "Oh no, what's going on?" Quickly figures out that she either must have died or, you know, um, is almost dead, and or this is a spider that just has her memories and it's not really her. In any case, none of it matters, so she just deals with it. So the strong suit is that the main character, who is just referred to as me or I, um, she is mentally highly resilient to the fact that she is now a spider monster, but she doesn't want to die, so she does everything possible to survive. And in the manga series, you're basically following what people affectionately call Kumoko, or Spider Girl, right? Even though in the actual story, she does not have a name at this point. You just follow the spider, and you get little side glances into what happens to the other students. And turns out her entire class, including the teacher, was isekai'd into this world. So you don't find that out in the manga until much later. I think it's like in volume 3 of the manga where you learn that, oh, there might be something going on because of a side story. But Kumiko, herself, the protagonist, she doesn't know any of that. Meanwhile, there are others from her class who have discovered that yes, they are in fact, um, you know, from this one Japanese classroom, and they're trying to each meet with each other and exchange information and try to find their missing classmates. And all that part is totally uninteresting to me. I don't really care about the rest of the classes, her classmates, because they're all typical boring isekai. I got reincarnated as a prince of this country. Oh, we're all attending magical academy, Hogwarts. Okay, I don't really care. Oh, the teacher's a cute lolly elf now. Don't care. I don't care. But the anime is following the light novel, which um, has a split storyline following Kumoko Spider and the rest of the heroes, which some of them are kind of dicks, and some of them will not become heroes. But all of that is in the anime and is currently scheduled for 2 cours, I think 24 or 25 episodes. And there are reasons why you find out later that this world is set up like a game. And Kumoko herself is like, oh, I get to evolve. I'm level 1 now. I'm level 2 now. Oh, I got these skill points. I can spend it on these skills. Oh, I got this magic. I don't know what it does, so I'll ignore that for now. So she goes through this entire tech tree, right? It's like a Civ game where you're trying to get to the greatest civilization. She's trying to just survive and evolve to become the whatever so that she can actually not die and be afraid of her life the entire time she's down there in the dungeon. And the show is really carried because of the protagonist's voice actor, um, and her name is Aoi Yuki. So Aoi also sings the ED, which is super high tension, crazy rap, fast talking, and with a little enka traditional music thrown in. So she just is a delight to listen to as a spider monster. The rest of it is questionable because the CG is a little questionable. It's not horrible, but it's not great. And like I said, I don't really care about the heroes, the rest of her classmates' storyline. So I'm not sure I think they should have adapted it off the manga, not the light novel. But it's funny, and so I just want to show this one screen, which pretty much sums up Kumoko's life. So there's the little cute little spider who's white with black spots and pink eyes, and upon seeing her brethren eating each other, and she runs away, and that is what she actually says. Oh Jesus! So, yep.
Yeah,
If you like isekai, give it a watch.
yeah, I was actually quite surprised with the anime as well because like I've read the manga. I've been keeping up with the manga for quite a while, and when they started showing all the other students, I was like, wait a minute, this is very different from what I remember because everything was always in the perspective of the spider rather. And so to me, seeing all that other stuff was kind of new and fresh, but then again, like, does it add anything really great to this show? I don't know yet because like I don't remember them being all that important when I was reading the manga, so I'm not too
Not
heavily
until
invested
later.
in them.
So I know where the story goes, and there is a good explanation for why this world looks like a game to her, how she's accessing all this, and you get it from both sides eventually, right? But um, currently, where the manga stands, you don't. I mean, I think she's fighting Mother at this point in the manga. You know,
Mhm.
they're having their final showdown. So it doesn't come until after that where you start learning about why is this world so much like a game, and there's a reason for it, and that's the intriguing part. Because in the middle of like volume 8 or 9, I was getting really tired of reading the tech tree stuff and the evolution and all that. I'm like, this is yet another JRPG, but there's a reason for it eventually. So if you stick through it, you'll find out. And yeah, but I just don't care about the heroes. So
Yeah. Um, but like I said, it was somewhat refreshing for me because I didn't know that any of that was really going on. Actually, even if they did mention it in the manga, I probably forgot about it because it probably was something very minor to me. Because
mhm.
the main interest to me was always how she would survive and how she would live her life, trying to get to where she's at. I won't try to spoil because I don't think I can't remember how far it is right now. But
It's it's not far. Uh she's found the passageway to the mid level. So you know, like I said, the CG's not great. The game stats stuff not great, but there's
CG,
all a good reason. It's just a um, fun watch. But if you don't, I mean, this is kind of borderline. If you like isekai, you'll like this, I think, because it's a slightly new take. But Slime already did the non-human monster, so this is a little bit different. Slime is more about world nation building. This is more just about a pure survival horror story and she's thrust into this uh, death match that she has no hopes of winning at the current level she's at. So I don't know. Yeah.
hmm I would say it's slightly better than the one anime that came out called Arifureteru, as far as the CG monsters go.
Yes.
So it's slightly better,
Better
but
than that.
not too much. Other than that, yeah, I'm probably going to keep on watching it. Cause like I really enjoyed the manga, so and there's really nothing to in this show that's actually so bad right now that I can't just say, oh, this is trash. But yeah, it's I think it's gonna be a little bit fun. I didn't know there's so much light novels out there. I'm gonna have to maybe check some of it out.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
it's I mean, yeah. If you want to know more about why the world is set up the way it is, then you'll find out. So anyway, that's that.
all right, thank you.
Yep. And I've got to go. So everyone have talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Talk to you
Bye.
later.
Bye bye. Have a nice. Oh, he left. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this another show that I was like excited for. Once I find the title, it's like somewhere in here. There it is. Boom. Oh, I gotta expand this because it's a long name. It's one of these long name shows.
Which one is it?
Tatoeba Last
God.
Dungeon Mae no Mura no Shonen ga Joban no
You're halfway
Machi
there.
de Kurusa
You can do it.
Yona Monogatari.
Yay.
Also known
Yeah, I
as.
hate it.
Oops, I clicked on the wrong title. I almost said Heaven's Design Team. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. Suppose a kid from the last dungeon boonies moved to a starter town. And surprisingly enough, I think it was like maybe half a year ago, this came out in a light novel on the Google store. So I'm like, ooh, what's this? Bought it and read it. And then I heard it was becoming an anime. And I think there's 2 volumes out right now that you can read. And as far
So
as...
this isn't related to that other anime that had dungeon in the name, right?
No, which...
Okay.
The picking up girls in a dungeon?
Yeah.
No, Danmachi. No, this is something completely different.
Okay. So yeah, I saw the word dungeon. I'm like, it must be that.
Nah, luckily enough. This is all something new, but it's still really, silly, tropey, and just all over the place. So Lloyd is from of course, a town that's next to the last dungeon, and he is considered weak. He's the weakest in the whole town. He tries his best. He's very hardworking. He's one of those pure and innocent souls. And upon, I believe, reading the story, he wants to become a knight because he finds the knights so cool and their valor and everything. And he wants to be someone to become strong, to be able to protect the people and stuff. So he decides that he's going to become a knight, and he convinces the village chief to go to, I guess the starter town. So, upon arriving there, and it's just so crazy how I'm trying to figure out what information I have is the light novel, which is the anime, but from what I like so far is that what they've adapted in the first 3 episodes is everything that's probably in the first volume, rather than them rushing through volume 1. Because I've seen a lot of adaptions where episode 1 is just volume 1, getting all this information, giving you all these things, and just pushing through it to get through the story. But this one spent the whole first 3 episodes on this whole first volume, and they took their time to tell the story, which was nice. I think they kind of low-keyed some stuff, but other than that, I didn't see anything too big that would be off-putting for people who read the light novel going into the anime. And it's just a silly show. I mean, it's something not to take serious at all. And some of the jokes in there are just quite a bit of slapstick humor, and it's just something that you can casually watch as you let the day go by, Get home, I gotta just put something on. Let's watch this, That's the type of show this dungeon boonie show, whatever you call it.
So it's a straight up fantasy, right? There's no MMO, there's no truck-kun.
Yeah, pure fantasy. I mean, there's not even the
Okay.
the stat scene, or being able to, you have to recite. Actually, maybe there's some of spell reciting. I can't remember if there's any magic really being used too well or too much. All I know is that there's like I think two forms of magic. There's the magic that everyone tends to know, and then there's like maybe this ultimate magic that revolves around runes. But there's like it's pretty fun because this kid Lloyd, he's like I said, he's pure-hearted. He's just this kid that is just, you know, wants to be helpful, wants to do everything he can, and wants to be there for people. But because of where he came from, he believes he's absolutely the weakest. So whenever people, he always gets into these situations where he's either taking everything in the wrong way, or that people hear it in the wrong way. So like to him, there's there's all these monsters in the town. Everyone's all panicking, and he's like, "Where are these monsters? I don't see any monsters. I just see bugs." You know. And to everyone else, these are like these monsters that are devastating the whole town, and he's just flicking him with the finger or something like that. So it has some humor like that, where he just, his common sense is so different from everyone else because of where he came from that there's this large gap. And I think this show for newcomers into anime would probably have somewhat fun with it. And once again, it's not an isekai, so, and rather than this all-powerful being that, you know, knows he's super powerful and but tries to hide it, it's kind of the opposite, where he is powerful but he doesn't believe it because of where he came from. And it's somewhat funny, I believe. And I'm actually surprised that not too many people had actually been watching it. I think what was it? Albert was the only other person watching it. Because like it does seem like it's going to be an isekai type of thing and follow the isekai tropes, but no, it's somewhat different. So, but I can see where it's not for everyone. But in my opinion, I would say give it a shot for at least the first episode, because you might find it a little more interesting than what you thought it would be. Do we have any other shows you guys want to talk about, or?
I mean, I could talk about Neverland for like 30 seconds. It just like it's setting up so much stuff that there's not a whole lot of pathos in it so far. It's just, a friend of mine read the manga and he's saying that it's going at like breakneck speeds, is trying to get to this part of the story that they can actually make a TV season out of. So he's saying that they abbreviated the shit out of, you know, meeting the, I don't know. I guess I won't spoil it, even if you haven't seen the first season. So I don't have much of an opinion about it. I'm just kind of like waiting for, you know, something interesting to happen.
Oh man, I found the title card and you finished your talk.
Well, I can follow up with I kind of agree that I've read parts of the manga but not the whole thing. And I actually read the part that the second season covers. And that was probably 2 volumes worth of manga that we got, 3 episodes out of, 3 or 4 episodes. So yeah, it definitely felt fast. I don't know where they're heading or what they're trying to build up to, but I'm going to be along for the ride because I do like the show overall, even though I don't think it's as good as what I've read of the manga.
All right. Well, how about we do this then? We'll just go to this other title that is another fantasy, not isekai, called... Well, what is this called, actually? Ore dake haireru kakushi dungeon. This is another one I've actually read the manga to before, and it looks like its main source is from a light novel. And this is another show, another fantasy show, not isekai, a fantasy show. For
I feel like we've founded the Truckun fan club a little late.
yeah. So this one's another one of those that it's going to be, especially from what I've seen from the manga. I haven't really seen too much of the anime. I think I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but it's an ecchi manga. So this guy, he was going to get a job as a librarian, but then he gets his job stolen from a noble. So now that he has no job, and he's like a lesser noble, he's not like a commoner, but he is somewhat of a noble. But he's like so far down that no one really respects him, and he decides to become an adventurer. So, or something like that. I can't remember what it actually is, but he ends up going to this one school to try to learn to get some skills and stuff. But I can't remember everything that happened in this anime now that I think about it. It's, in a nutshell, basically, in order to use his abilities that he has this one ability that gives him all the information that he ever needs that would help him, but he ends up getting a headache. And it's so bad that he doesn't want to use his ability anymore, but they find out that maybe if he kisses someone, it can alleviate the pain. So he tries it, and he finally gets the information he needs to help him become stronger, which is the secret dungeon, or the hidden dungeon. And once he enters, he finds this lady, and this lady's been trapped there for years and years, and she's like one of the most powerful beings ever, but because she's stuck there, she can't do anything. But she decides to help this boy and give him some skills, which are there are 3 skills. One is to create a new magic, one is to edit magic, and one is to, I believe, bestow magic. And with these 3 skills, basically he can almost do anything, but there's a catch. He needs to use LP points, which is life points or something like that. And if he uses them all, he'll die. And the only way he can get them back is if he, feels fulfilled. So like any of his desires, lust, food, money, just different things like that. So, of course, because of his lust and stuff being a big thing for him to gain points, it's going to have a lot of ecchi moments. So it's going to be one of those types of shows if people don't know about it. I know there's some people that want to know what's the ecchi anime out there, and this is one of them. But other than that, not too much else that's really great about this show. It's just your fantasy ecchi. What other titles do we have in here?
Pretty much the only thing we haven't talked about that I've seen is Attack on Titan, the final season, but since it's the final season, there's not a whole lot to say about it. If you like Attack on Titan, you'll be watching this, and if you don't like it, then you won't.
Yeah.
I would have to say, though, the opening's really boss, so should check out the opening if nothing else.
I think the same could be said for ReZero too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just continuation from
Mm-hmm.
where we left off. And if you were watching, if you were watching it, you're probably going to be watching it now. Same with Slime.
Mm-hmm.
That one now has a second season. Part 1's going on. I believe they released 4 OVAs in between the 2, right? Seasons?
Yes, I can't remember if I watched them or not. I know I watched some Slime thing and I wasn't really invested in it. It might have been one of the OVAs. Because it was just filler, not really moving the plot along or exploring the characters or anything.
Yeah, none of that happened in that.
Mm-hmm.
What else was there? I guess if you want like romance comedy or rom-com in the high school life, you got Hiromiya. I read this as a manga, and Hiromiya was, I thought was actually quite decent, really nice. There was a few like DVDs that were released, I believe, with some of the manga as it was being released that were just very simple animations. But now that it's got a full length anime coming out, I watched it and I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's your typical rom com, high school life, but it's good. So if you like that thing, Hiromi is a nice new title that's out. Or you can go to that quintuplet show. That's another second season that's coming out. I haven't watched the quintuplet one because I forgot what happened in the first season. So I'm like, I gotta get myself some reminder or something. Gotta rewatch a little bit of the first season before I can continue on to the second.
First season, the dude is test to tutor those 5 idiot girls, and they turn into sort of a rom-com harem story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's a harem rom-com, but I can't remember what happened at the very end of it, so I want to get myself a little refresher before I dig into that. But I didn't have time for it because like I was reading a lot of Night on the Light novels as well before coming in here, or before this season. But other than that, I don't really see anything else. Does anyone else want to make any call-outs for a show?
Beastars season 2, really, 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 really good. The characters are all like super crazy interesting, and you know it's very well animated, which helps the characters be super crazy magnetic on the screen.
Is that has that been fully dumped on Netflix, or or is that
No,
wait
I'm
till next season?
It's being fan subbed, so that's what I'm watching.
Okay.
It's in Netflix jail.
Yep.
Oh yeah, it's one of.
Nice. Let me see what else.
I'm kind of surprised, but kind of not surprised. Nobody's watching Skate the Infinity. So I think it's made by some like ex OreAni people who worked on Free. They went to Bones to make the skating thing.
Thought about watching it, but I can't remember if that was one that it was based on a mobile game or something, and so I was just no. or if it was based on a otome game. Because I tend to not watch any game-based anime because they're historically pretty bad.
Wait, what was this? I think there's this other title I thought I was going to ask Jessica about. Let me see, where is it?
Well, in the meantime, I'll say that Shirobako the movie is on YaTorrents, but I don't see any fan subs for it.
Ooh, I want to see that.
Okay, maybe it wasn't Jessica. Yurdi Camp season 2's out as well.
Yay! Yeah, it's been good so far.
Yeah, I'm probably going to pick that up here too. I don't know. I think I want to watch those in batches, so I'm going to probably go 4 episodes, rather than wait weekly.
Eurocamp makes a curry flavored cup ramen really delicious.
But other than that, thank you all for joining me today. We'll have another get together. I'll have at the end of the season. I think that's it for us today. So, thank you all out there for watching our roundtable discussion of the winter season of 2021. Thank you for watching OreAni. And we'd like for some new faces to join us. Maybe if you want to chat with us, if you're up to date on the newest anime out there and want to get your thoughts out, let us know. We got a comment. We can give you a Discord link, and then we post on there when our discussions are going to happen, and also a few little info dumps on some stuff that we find interesting throughout the season. And other than that, thank you, Sean, Jessica, Albert. I'm wondering what happened to Nick. Nick, be safe out there, man. Hopefully you can be here for the end of the season. thank you all, and good night. And Saku, hey, yeah, man. Thank you for sticking there with us in chat.